Hey, this is Indigenous Patriot. I want to talk about a couple things real quick. This is just going to be a short conversation. So, obviously, everybody knows that Donald Trump has been diagnosed with COVID, and conspiracy theorists are stating that maybe he doesn't have it. Even I've stated it. These are reasons why it would make sense for him not to have it. But let's discuss some of the things that probably point towards this actually being the truth. The first thing happens to be the fact that his doctor has come out stating that he is positive with COVID. Now, in the event that he does not have COVID and it comes out somehow, that doctor has just basically screwed himself on it. So he has no actual benefit to confirming a false COVID result. The second thing is the number of people that have come out positive from Donald Trump's inner circle. Hope Hicks, Donald Trump, Melania, etc. Okay. The third thing is that it goes against his messaging that the coronavirus is almost done. I mean, just last week he stated that, no, I'm sorry, not last week, yesterday he stated that we were in the final stretch of COVID. He's been downplaying it the entire time. Apparently, he's been checked into a Walter Reed hospital and is undergoing an experimental cocktail, whatever that means. But I digress. Is it possible that he is putting this on for a number of reasons? We can talk about those reasons. Maybe he doesn't want to be in a debate. Maybe he wants to push hydroxychloroquine or another therapeutical / vaccine. Maybe he wants to say, I'm so strong, I even beat COVID. What do you think I'm going to do to Biden in November? But in any case, I would venture to say that he and the people that they've claimed to have COVID actually have COVID. I don't feel like the risks outweigh the rewards in this particular instance. But the real reason why I'm stating this is not to speculate on the man's health. It's to talk about our response to it. What do we get out of this celebration? I've been talking about how Donald Trump treats other people since I started all of this. Since I started my Twitter account, my Facebook account, my YouTube, all that stuff. I've been talking about how I don't like how he calls people names and he down talks people and things like this. So I'm personally not going to find myself cheering on a positive COVID result on anybody. I don't wish death on anybody. I wish justice. There's a difference. I'm not interested in the negativity that hate brings. I prefer resolve on a personal matter. I want to vote. I want to get the proper people into office, and I want to see them convict him of any crimes that they can prove, okay? And in the case that they can't prove any crimes, I'm going to just leave that as it is. I'm about moving forward, not sitting there and wishing about things that I cannot change. So another thing that I want to discuss in the meantime is how relationships have been affected by politics. So within the last couple of weeks, I've had a family member as well as a personal friend basically not respect personal boundaries. So yes, I talk about all of this stuff. They all know that I do the YouTube, etc. And on my personal page, I do post my videos. But I've made it clear that my forums for discussion are on the political pages, on my Twitter account, sometimes on my YouTube account. And I've had hours and hours and hours of discussions with people that don't agree with me. And that's okay, because we don't always have to agree with one another. But we need to stick towards verifiable facts if we're going to have a disagreement. I don't believe in the agree to disagree nonsense. I think that is just nonsense as it pertains to facts. Facts are facts. Opinions are opinions. I prefer to stick to facts whenever possible. And yes, to say that I don't have opinions is an unfair statement, but they're generally educated, and I provide the receipts whenever possible. I believe this because of this, not I believe this because so and so told me so, or this meme said so. I prefer to go to primary source documents whenever possible. I'll even do a video coming up where I'm going to again go back through the vetting tools that I use in order to determine which articles have which media bias. And I read from the right, I read from the center, and I read from the left as much as possible, because I don't believe I know everything. I don't believe that one source is going to contain all the information that's going to paint the entire picture. I don't believe that everybody is, that a certain source is wrong all the time. I do believe that certain sources have a history of misleading intentionally, and those I'm not that fond of. I read, for instance, Breitbart, but I'm not very fond of getting the information from Breitbart and turning it into knowledge. So these relationships end up coming to an end because the people don't understand that there are boundaries. I will talk to an individual, but when you start trolling or putting hashtags on my personal page in order to draw attention from outside people that have nothing to do with me and have nothing to do with what I'm about, but would end up just, spamming my personal page where my family and my friends happen to be, that's breaking boundaries. And so when I have the discussion that we don't want to do this, that should be respected. Because I don't go onto people's personal pages and talk garbage to them. That's not something that is in any way pushing us forward as a culture. You don't have a right to infringe upon other people. That's just what it is. And to say that to post things online means that anybody should say the things that they want to say to you, that is also false, because otherwise Facebook and Twitter and the various social media sites wouldn't have terms of service. Okay, wouldn't allow you to block people. If it was just a completely open forum, it would be like a bulletin board or something, okay? These are personal pages with family and things like that. So it's not just some open forum for you to just say whatever you want to say without any kind of consequences. We need to be able to get back to respecting one another instead of thinking that our personal opinions override everything, okay? I have the YouTube, I have the Twitter, I have the Indigenous Patriot Facebook page for discussions. And again, I will discuss in the comments of anything that I post on my personal page as long as we can maintain the boundaries of civility. If you're not going to provide something that's going to push the conversation forward, if you're going to dispute every single piece without having the proper receipts in place in order to do so, then what you're doing is you're just providing a bunch of information that'll never turn into knowledge because you don't have the tools in order to do so. You're not providing a verifiable source besides your opinion. And if you happen to not work in anything to do with politics, law enforcement, or education or anything like that, and you don't happen to have these conversations with people over and over and over again, or you're not doing the amount of research that it takes to actually educate yourself besides looking at memes and either far left or far right publications, and you're just sticking to those particular publications, then what do you bring to the table? Okay, that's what I'm really wondering. What do you bring to the table? You have to bring value. You have to bring an open mind in order to take something that the other person is stating and digest it for a minute in order for you to know if you're going to transform that information into knowledge. We are in a culture that's all about coming up with the response and not actually taking the time to listen. Now, hundreds and hundreds of conversations all lead back to the same type of responses, that clearly means that those people are sticking with their confirmation bias. If you don't agree with something, that doesn't necessarily mean that you are a liberal cuck. Pardon the language, but that's the statements made. What that means is maybe you are, or maybe you have a point that you want to make that should not be summarily dismissed without them turning it over and seeing if it makes sense. Basically, that's what I wanted to talk about in this particular video. Okay, I'm still reading The Indigenous Peoples' History of the United States. It's a very good book. It was released several years back, and I very much recommend it. I'm going to be discussing some more movies, and again, check out the Indigenous Film Festival, Vision Maker Indigenous Film Festival. I'll link that down below as well. I think the last day is the 5th, so you're running out of time in order to see this free Indigenous Film Festival. Let me know what you think about it. And if anything that I talked about strikes a chord with you, please let me know. If anything that you want me to discuss in some way, give me a suggestion. Maybe I will in future videos. Lepichka Nawe. I will see you again.